Okay, so we'll look at the second one you sent since you got the other one figured out. So, um, first things first, we want to set it equal to 0. So we just basically nullify. I always like to keep the coefficient of x squared positive. So I'm going to leave that 5x squared there. But then what I'm going to do is I'm basically subtracting 34x from both sides. And I can't subtract it from the x squared because they're not like terms. So it's, oops. So it's going to have to be on its own next to it. Then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So then I'll have a minus 7 on the left side. Now the right side has been zeroed out. Now, there's a couple different ways you can factor this. I'm just going to stick with the way I've been doing it. If you want to do guess and check, that's fine. But I'm going to do 5 times negative 7, which is negative 35. Then I'm going to grab that middle number, negative 34, the coefficient of my middle value, and then we're going to play that game. What two numbers multiply to give me the product of the edges, but then those numbers also would add up to negative 34. And that should be a negative 35 and a positive 1. Those multiply and give me negative 35, and they add together to give me negative 34. So what we'll do next now is we will replace this minus 34x right there. We're going to split it into a minus 35 and a plus 1. So we still have the 5x squared, and I'm going to put the minus 35x and then the plus 1x, and then we have minus 7 equals 0. And the order that I put the minus 35 and the plus 1 doesn't make a difference. If you switch that order, we're going to get the same answer when we finish. But what I'm doing here is I'm manipulating this to where there's 4 terms to where now I can do factor by grouping. So I group the first two, just focus on the first two, and it looks like I can pull out a 5x, so I'll start with that, and that'll leave me with x minus 7. Oh, well, that's exactly what I have right here. So what I'm going to have to do here, and this doesn't happen that often, so you might not have seen this happen yet, but I'm going to have to pull out basically an understood 1. So I'm going to put plus 1. I'm factoring out a 1. It really doesn't change anything, but it helps me with my next step. And so my next step is when I pull out that common factor right there, x minus 7. Okay, so I'm going to pull out x minus 7, and then my other factor is going to be the 5x and then the plus 1. That's why I wanted to pull out that 1 right there. Even though it didn't really change anything, it kind of helped me here understand what the other factor would be. All right, so the last part we're going to do here is take those factors, set them equal to 0, and solve. Because, see, multiplying them together, if either one of them were to equal 0, the whole thing ends up going to 0. So we set each one equal to 0. First one's pretty easy. We add 7 to both sides. And so we get x equals 7. That's one of our answers. And then on the other one, we'll subtract 1 and divide by 5. And that'll give us x equals negative 1/5. So those are our two answers, positive 7 and negative 1/5. And you know, these just take practice, and um, once you do a dozen of these, you know, you'll have them down. But what's important is this skill will come up time again in this course. So I hope that helps. And if you need more, just let me know. I'll be happy to send you some more videos.